You on the other side, you'll be a part of the broadcast from wherever you are, either streaming us live on Facebook or YouTube, or tune into your radio station on 99.3. Dr. Wiebe Boer, good to see you again.
Good to see you, Colin. So how did your team do this
We
weekend?
lost.
How did your team do
We
this
lost. We lost painfully,
Oh, okay.
yes.
Okay.
Said that already.
Okay.
Don't
All
rub
right.
it in, please. And I
Okay.
pray you win today.
Yeah, we should.
I pray
We
you
should.
do.
Yeah, we should. Okay.
And how's the weekend for you?
Yeah, it was good. It just went by really fast. So last night I went to a Christmas concert. It's like a Nigerian orchestra.
Oh, yeah.
I think you saw it on Instagram.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unbelievable, the talent we have here. I mean, you know, our guys like, you know, WizKid and all them are storming the world. But when you look at the talent we have here, just even singing Oyibo music and all that, now wow, they finished the Oyibo people.
Are you serious?
So good.
I
Amazing.
mean, I saw a few clips and I was like, was this is Nigeria? And it was beautiful to watch indeed. We're here again with another guest and with another interesting conversation on power solutions.
Yes, we are. So we have another guest who has been on with us virtually in the past.
That's right.
But he's now with us in person here in the studio in Lagos.
Yeah.
So Trey, welcome back to Nigeria. It's been a while. It's good to have you here.
Thank you. Great to be here.
All right.
I'm excited to be back.
So Trey Gerard is the CEO of Renewvia Energy Corporation. It's a U.S. headquartered company that does a lot of solar installation in the U.S., but a couple of years ago decided to start coming into Africa. And so they chose some of the most difficult places. They went to Kenya on the Lake Victoria coast, and then Nigeria. They went straight to the Niger Delta, deep in the creeks. So these guys are doing the work that is not for the faint-hearted. So Trey, thank you for doing that, and thank you for being with us today.
Thank you.
So if you could just kick off by telling us a little bit about yourself, but then also Renewvia, and what brings you to Lagos.
Good. Well, it's a pleasure to be here. My name's Trey Gerard. I'm one of the principals of Renewvia Energy Corporation. Renewvia is a global solar development company. We were founded in 2008 and cut our teeth in the business in the United States, but started developing elsewhere around 2013. And we've now built, engineered, designed, and built and managed solar on 4 continents. And besides the U.S., where we have the largest footprint, is Sub-Saharan Africa, specifically in Kenya and Nigeria. And what our footprint looks like in Sub-Saharan Africa right now is it's grown tremendously since 2015 when we landed here. We have over 22 mini-grids serving remote communities, either built or very close to being built, and that's serving over 20,000 people through about 4,500 metered connections.
Wow. That's a lot. In case you're wondering, this particular conversation is actually themed powering the Niger Delta with solar mini-grids. So, dear listener, you already heard from our guests' introductory comments, as it were. Let me take the next question for you, Jarrard. You see, the Nigerian subsidiary Renewvia Energy Corporation was formed in 2017. And I imagine that this was considered a risky venture at the time, just to look at it from there. What informed this decision, and 4 years later, what's your assessment of the penetration into the Nigerian market?
Well, our decision was, we had a little bit of a catalyst. We were performing feasibility studies for off-grid and working with Power Africa, which is a vision of the U.S. government. We were working in Kenya on a national feasibility study, and we were asked if we could replicate that in Nigeria. So I would say a little bit of chance, but since we were tooled and spooled up to do that, we were able to start that effort, the same effort here, and really garnered a significant level of expertise during that feasibility effort. That gave us confidence to start risking our own capital, to start developing grids, which we knew we had to do as a bigger effort, a larger capitalization effort. You always got to show that you can transact on every level to be able to attract other dollars in to help to achieve the goal and the mission, which is there's a huge need here for rural electrification. It's very impactful, but we have to make a commercial base for it, and to do that, we had to you said in terms of judging the risk, we had to kind of dig in and figure it out, get our own dollars at work, and then kind of prove some of the data, start generating data.
Okay.
So you've launched a number of mini-grids already. You've already commissioned them. They're already operational, and you have a number coming up. What does your footprint look like currently in Nigeria in terms of where they're located, the numbers of mini-grids, and all that?
Yes, we have 8 mini-grids, and it'll be serving at over 2,100 subscribers, which is almost estimating about 10,000 people. And we're in 4 different states in the Niger Delta. So rivers, cross rivers, Akwa Ibom, and
Bayelsa.
Bayelsa was our first 2 installations.
Mm-hmm.
So that's and as you mentioned, it is sometimes challenging to construct or transact in every form, but that's where a lot of the greatest need is. And we want to, again, it's part of this cycle. We have to show that we can transact in these more difficult places. So you might as well not run from it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I know for sure this is a big one because when I heard about this, I'm like, wow, it would be great to hear an update on this from you. We know that Renewvia and All signed a 1.2 million, wait for it, guy, $1 million deal last year to electrify communities in the Niger Delta, specifically Aki, Pelai, and not also forgetting where oil was originally discovered in Nigeria. That's talking about Oloibiri, and we'd like to have an update on this. How far so far?
Yeah, we're excited about that those systems in particular. Obviously, our first 2, but the story behind Oloibiri, where oil was discovered, yet the community has that energy source, but they didn't have a reliable and affordable source of power. So we were proud and excited to electrify that village first as our first project in Nigeria. It's been according to how you look at success. I mean, we had projected to connect in those 2 communities just over 400, and I think we're approaching close to 700.
Wow!
So that's the cycle we've seen right now. I mean, we feel like we have a pretty good tenure in this space, and we've had grids that are operating for several years now. We see what happens once the community, some of those in the community get connected at the onset. Others get the confidence that this entity, being us, is a viable entity, and we're there to serve, and that if they buy power, we're going to deliver power, and then subscriptions start to increase.
Okay.
So how do your markets in Nigeria and the mini-grid communities and all that, how does it differ from what you're doing in Kenya and maybe even the U.S.?
Well, it doesn't differ substantially in Kenya. We have different demand profiles, and that's part of this effort. We're getting smarter about forecasting demand, because you have to balance capital expenditure with how much energy you're going to sell. You can't overbuild, because then you're going to underperform financially, and you can't underbuild, because then you're underperform from a service standpoint. The community and regulators will get very upset. So Nigeria differs slightly in Kenya in terms of our demand forecast. On an average basis, on an average day, a Nigerian residence and commercial entity use 30-40% more than in Kenya, based on what we've seen. So that's really the only difference as far as how we engineer and design and operate a system. It's really demand projections, but as far as our performance is concerned, it's very similar in both countries.
Okay, and then I guess also you do a little bit of commercial and industrial, which is what your market is in the U.S.
Yes.
Is there anything different between commercial and industrial there or here?
Yeah, pretty much everything in the U.S. is very little storage and very little diesel offset. So it makes a lot more economic sense here. I mean, the U.S. market is heavily subsidized with tax benefit. And so that's why it's working. Mm-hmm. And with the much more stringent ESG policies for corporations, that's kind of driving the market as well. Here, you just have a expensive cost of fuel, and you have a very unreliable source of utility power. So the average avoided cost for these corporations is very, very high. So without any subsidy, it's very attractive. Payback's very quick and returns very high. So it's it's an exciting CNI opportunity for us. We know how to do it. We've been doing that for 13 years now. So that's a natural progression for us now that we're here.
All right, to take a cue from that last question, providing great energy to rural communities is no joke, and we'd like to know if you've encountered any obstacles in achieving that. Tell us about some of those obstacles you encountered in providing great energy in rural communities.
Well, I think there's probably no surprise to anybody that it's from here, does business here. We've had obstacles getting product in country at the rates that we forecasted, and we're basing on the clearance cost. But it turns out it takes longer, and it always costs more. So it's a sensitive financial model we're operating, and the constraints are tight. So that's one of the issues we are hoping to get better and more precise at. And other obstacles kind of, they vary, but sometimes it's coordination with federal and state agencies in terms of policies, and just having to be in a position to be flexible and educate in some cases. Also staying closely aligned with the community on the front end as it relates to who we are, what we're doing it, how we're doing it, which basically translate into what we have to charge to sell this power. And we've learned you have to spend a significant amount of time up front making sure everybody understands that before you commission, to have this to have everybody feeling good about it when you actually start producing power.
Okay, so as a company, I mean, your primary focus is designing, installing, and then operating power systems, right? Now, obviously, in these communities that you're working in, when they get power, it's so much more than just power, is what it means to them. So what are you seeing in these communities in terms of the impact beyond just switching on lights? What does it mean for them?
Yeah, we learned a couple of years ago that success is measured more than just economic with us. This is an impact business we're in. So we have a pretty strict methodology we've developed over the last couple of years, and we've surveyed over 3,000. We have over 3,000 surveys now from our subscribers, and we're measuring specifically gender equality, productivity, health, safety, and economic viability. So we have to create a baseline, and that's really important. So now, as just a standard operating procedure, when we activate an account, we're collecting the data that's going to give us a baseline for the subscriber, so we can measure it at prescribed intervals, 6 months, 1 year, so we can see what we're doing and what effect we're having, and make adjustments based on that. And that takes some resource, and we've made that investment to have an impact division and somebody watching that with every single subscriber and going through the life of our system, so we can make informed decisions, database decisions, and make these systems as impactful as possible to the community.
Well, before I get to the next question, let me bring the listener up to speed. We're streaming live on YouTube and on Facebook, and we're having a conversation on powering Niger Delta with solar Minigrids. We do have the CEO of Renewvia Energy Corporation, Trey Gerard, talking to us on this particular topic. And we have some comments on Facebook, by the way, some questions which we'll take as we proceed. But let me ask you this. Now, what are your projected growth, if you like, or what's your projected growth or growth targets for Nigeria?
We have aggressive targets in Nigeria because because of the regulatory structure that's in place in this country, we can actually forecast. So pretty lofty goals. We want to have connected over 70,000 people in Nigeria by 2025. And that could be, we project a specific number of communities, but it could vary based on how many connections we have in each community. But 70,000 through over 200 communities by 2025.
Wow.
So we have a question here on
Facebook.
Is that Facebook? Okay,
yeah.
Facebook. So the question is, can solar really be a replacement for the national grid? For example, one can't iron with solar, and there's limited storage capacity. So maybe you need to set that person straight.
Yeah, I understand the misconception. You can solar can take the place of any form of power as long as you have the ability to know what kind of load you're going to serve, and then you can design a system and an amount of storage to provide whatever needs to be powered for however long. You can iron. I think maybe there's a solar home kit or something that doesn't have the amperage enough to power an iron, but that's the difference in a mini-grid. Mini-grid is an actual utility, and the difference is it's scalable with the community and the individual. So as lifestyles change, as appliances are added, then the individual just has to buy more power as they need, when they need it, as opposed to having to buy more equipment to power other devices, if that makes sense. So in a way, it is a grid. It's functioning like a grid, and individuals don't have to manage assets. They just have to manage the power that they need to buy.
We speak to key players in this industry, and we know for sure that one of the biggest objectives of the Nigeria electrification project, as being implemented by the Rural Electrification Agency, is to specifically support the development of private sector in mini-grids in unserved areas. How are companies, or how is your company, specifically Renewvia, benefiting from this program?
We're benefiting by it's providing confidence for the capital markets to invest in off-grid in this country. So we need to have that structure that this country's put in place to basically drive this progression in the form of it being efficient and economical to obtain a permit, and being able to forecast and move quickly once you have once you're in agreement with the communities. And then the subsidy obviously gives the confidence to a lot of the capital providers, or there's enough of an economic risk mitigate that it makes sense for them to make this investment, and it's just for that reason alone that a lot of these entities are be able to get through their investment committee because of this particular structure in this country. It's far superior to any other continent and any other country on the continent.
Wow, no, you can say that again. You're saying that policy-wise, this particular aspect, Nigeria's policy is far superior than any other country on the continent.
Yes, it gives the private sector, because of the licenses, the 20-year exclusivity license, the ability to charge a cost-reflective tariff, and the efficiency and the economical structure of permitting. It gives gives the private sector the confidence and the ability to make this commercially viable, commercially sustainable and viable.
Yeah,
interesting.
It's something we hear again and again from different developers that maybe they weren't looking at Nigeria before, but now the regulation kind of pushes them here because it's just better than everywhere else. So it's something we're doing right.
Absolutely.
Correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
So in addition to the right regulation and the Niger electrification program, are there other ways that the government here, either on the state level or the federal level, are supporting the work that you're doing?
Nothing off the top of my head. Just the regulatory structure that the federal government's put in place, and I know I just mentioned this, but the protection of assets, where it starts and stops. So the federal the license that mini-grid developers obtain, if they perform and are regulatory compliant, is the first step and kind of the cornerstone in making this work. So I would just say again, the licensing the federal government has instilled implemented is the key driver behind this.
Okay. And then I guess, we have listeners here. I mean, I know most of your operations are in the Niger Delta, but let's say there's a listener in Lagos or elsewhere who's from a community that he feels or she feels would benefit from a mini grid. What would they need to do to get Renewvia to come talk to them and consider putting a grid in their community?
Yeah, just reaching out to us on our website. Our country manager, Chris Abawari, is in the field constantly evaluating communities, but the the item that would make this move quicker is to be able to have some upfront information within the community. Like, we need to know approximately how many connections are possible within a certain radius. And so when communities getting in touch with us that can provide that level of information, it would accelerate our ability to assess that in the early stages.
So what's the website?
It's www.renewvia.com.
All right. Renewvia.com, guys. That's the website. So if there's a community you want to nominate, if you like, or you want them to, provide solutions to them, power solutions to them, you can go to the website, of course, and contact them via that platform. Well, our time is fast spent, and we're wrapping up this conversation right now. So I want you to once again, that misconception, it's a major misconception about solar. And I want you to hit that again. I know you answered the last caller's question, but I want you to talk a bit more about that. And just emphasize the need for people to understand that solar is way better. It's not only cleaner, it's also as powerful. It can do whatever it is you think that the main grid power can do. Because a lot of people, even with what we're saying right now, we still think that no, it's not the same. This solar thing is for charging phones. It's not for major. So I want you to, again, in your words, deal with this misconception or demystify this misconception about solar.
Yeah, it's, just technically solar mini-grids are a utility. They're producing voltage, the same voltage it requires to run any AC appliance that's here in the studio or that's in one's residence.
Yeah. And
it's just a matter of being able to assess the needs of the community and individuals in the community to build the plant suitable to supply that power. And it can, you say, replace the grid. It's for communities that don't have an option for a grid. You are essentially becoming, the solar mini grid is a utility for the community.
That's right. So I love the very key aspect that says you do an assessment of the needs of wherever you want to apply solar. You need to know what these people would need so that you build a system that it's, just fine for their needs, to meet the needs, their power needs specifically.
Yeah, no, I think the problem here, what often happens is somebody will have maybe like a 50 kVA generator, and then they'll put in 20 kilowatts of solar and think, the solar, why can't it do the same job? Thing? But it's because they're not comparing apples to apples.
I mean, you can use your better pass my neighbor gen and expect it to work as same as a bigger generator. So, I mean, the same thing happens with solar. So if you need bigger power, you create a bigger solution, as it were.
Yeah.
Well said. And this is a good point for us to, pack our bags and leave the studio.
Well, not quite. So just a quick plug. So on Wazobia at 12:30, the Renewvia country manager, Chris Wiebe, is going to be on there, and he will be speaking he's based in Warri, so he's going to be giving had local correct pidgin there. So we wanted Trey to kind of get on and try his pidgin, but we thought let's get Chris out there so he can really speak to the people. So
that's right.
So tune in on Wazobia at 12:30. And Trey, one thing I forgot to ask you: you're based in Atlanta.
Yes.
I guess a month ago or so, Atlanta won the World Series of baseball. Yeah. The Atlanta Braves for the first time in 20-30 years. So just what was that like? Maybe you can close out with that.
Yeah, it was exciting, and it was. We felt very justified because another little technicality here is they took one of the playoff games away from Atlanta.
Okay.
For a controversial political reason, and then the Braves ended up winning the World Series was felt really good to the city.
Okay.
So yeah, it was great regardless, but with that happening this year, it was even better.
You see, he's smiling even more.
I was going to say, I was just going to say exactly that.
This is how he was looking when Chelsea won the Champions League. Yeah. So this is fantastic.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. Yeah. Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
And the team. Well, this is where we end the show today, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned something new. We bring key players to talk about how the solutions they're providing in the power space, especially in the off-grid sector. And I've done this episode, of course, with my co-host. But before I mention that, we cannot leave without thanking our guest again. That's talking about Trey Gerard for speaking with us again, CEO of Renewvia Energy Corporation. Thank you for speaking with us on the show today.
Yeah, I loved it. It was great to be here in person. Thank you for having me.
And good luck with your growth to Nigeria. It's very important, and we're glad you're here.
Thanks so much.
Wiebe, this is where we go. Just walk away. Wish you good luck. Let your team win. I hope they do. I'm not a bad belly. I want you to win.
Appreciate that. All right. Have a great week.
My name is Collins. Teke, stay tuned for the news coming up right after this.